I'm Megan, and thank you for being here. That shot you just saw was my motivation or my reason for doing this practice, which is a practice to release tension and discomfort from the spine. Polytunnels, or sometimes called hoop houses, wherever you live. The definition in there somewhere should say you're going to have a really sore body, particularly your spine, after digging it out and laying horse manure and everything else that goes into it. So this practice is more of a little bit of somatic movement into restorative, restful stretching, and particularly for the spine. You're going to want any props that you have, a couple of blankets, some pillows if you'd like, a couple of blocks I have here. If you've got yoga bolsters, you're welcome to use those. And please grab 2 balls of the same size. They can be tennis balls, and some sort of cloth that will fit over them. All right, so let's get started. The first thing we're gonna do is just seated. Take your hands behind you. Take your legs out in front of you. And if your back is really sore to the degree where extending your legs is already pulling on your back, take your blanket, one of your blankets, roll it up, and I'm gonna do this. Put it right underneath the knees, or sometimes a little higher up the thighs, just so you have a bend in the knees. Rock back and forth and find your sit bones. Ground yourself into those sit bones. And then once you can feel that stable base of support, be still in that base, just jelly roll your legs a little bit. Let your legs know they can relax throughout this practice as we focus on our spine. Let the legs relax and feel your torso all the way around in 360 degrees, and just begin to make gentle circles in one direction, your direction, with your spine. So you can keep your head more still. We're going to start from the base of the spine with this practice and work our way up the spine. So you're moving more from your hips, your pelvis. You'll notice the further forward you come, the more you'll feel the low back stretch. So make sure that that feels like a juicy, sweet stretch, not any sort of pinging stretch or anything that feels too exciting. And if you'd like, you can switch the direction of your circles. And then come to a still point. Get back on those sit bones. And after that movement, we're going to take 3 breaths. A big breath in and a big breath out. The breath out, let it come out of your mouth. See if you can breathe in your nose. So breathe in your nose. And as you breathe out, imagine sending any tightness or tension down through your spine and out those sit bones and into the ground. Like you're just letting it go. All of the weight of your shoulders, your head just falls down with your out breath. Again, breathe in your nose. A nice complete breath out. Just letting gravity take the weight of your whole upper body into your sit bones. We'll do that one more time. Big breath in through the nose. Breathing out, landing in your sit bones. Feel the way your bones are holding you, your muscles are relaxing. Pause for just a moment in that place. And then we're going to switch positions. Take that blanket out from underneath you. If you like extra padding under your knees, put it on your mat or something to put underneath your knees. We're going to be coming to all fours. So coming onto all fours, if your wrists are uncomfortable, think about either using fists, or you can come onto your forearms as well. If you like forearms but want a little bit of a lift, the trick is to use blocks, and you can be forearms on your blocks. My wrists are sore from shoveling, so I'm going to go with this one. And what we're going to do now is we're going to come into a back bend. So think of the space from your pubic bone all the way to your collarbones. And as you breathe in, press that area towards the ground. Think of filling the front body. And as you breathe out, just release it. So breathe in, navel center down towards the ground, front of the ribs. So creating that arch in the back. And breathe out and release. So what we're doing in a back bend is we're actually compressing the spine, the back of the spine, but we're opening the front of the spine where the discs are. Going nice and slow. And then see if your head wants to go along with this movement. So what we're going to do is bring the chin towards the chest as you drop into that back bend. If you want to think of it from the back side of your body, imagine on the inhale, lifting your tailbone, squeezing your shoulder blades, and then like you're trying to look at your belly button. The back of the neck gets long. And release. So on the inhale, the majority of the spine, the lumbar spine, the thoracic spine is shortening and the neck is lengthening. And then we're releasing. Or think of it from the front body. On the inhale, the whole belly, the front of the ribs, the chest cavity is opening and the throat is closing. Let's do this one more time. And then coming back to a position where it feels like your spine is neutral. Now I want to fill our backside up. So if that was the back bend, now we're going to go into what we sometimes call forward fold or flexion of the spine. So feel your back from your tailbone all the way to the base of the neck. And as you breathe in, imagine filling the backs of your ribs and lift up as high as you can. As you breathe out, just let the front body fall with the gravity. Inhale, lift, round the back. So now we're slightly compressing the front of the spine, the discs, and we're opening the back of the spine. And release. It can be really helpful to use your breath. Let your breath fill your lungs so it's like this buoyancy is lifting you without too much force. But you can also think as you're breathing in of taking the tailbone down towards the earth or even slightly forward. If you want to add the head to this one, look up, bring the chin away from the chest as you breathe in, and just let the head drop as you breathe out. Sometimes I'll imagine there's a string from the pubic bone to the chin, and the chin is pulling the pubic bone forward. The back lifts, and then we drop it. Really easy, in and out. One more. All right, and while we're here, we're going to work a little bit through the center of the spine, the thoracic spine. You can set those blocks aside. I'm going to turn towards you for this first part. Keep your knees on the blanket. Your knees can be either underneath your hips or maybe your hips are behind. That's okay. Keep a block somewhere reachable or a blanket. Take both arms out to the sides wide. We're going to do a rotational movement that's more for the center of the spine. So think of your cheek being heavy and feel your right collarbone. And as you breathe out, fall onto your right cheek and collarbone, bending your left elbow. If your head doesn't touch the ground comfortably, please don't force it. So this is where a block can be nice. You can put a block right there to catch you. So let yourself fall. Let the chest cavity just drop as you empty the belly. Then inhale. Lift back up. Feel yourself brighten. And now as you exhale, bend the right elbow. Keep the left elbow extended. Feel the left cheek and collarbone heavy, falling down. You can use that block there. Inhale up. And take your time. Exhale. Switch sides. Left elbow bends. Right arm can reach out a little bit. So feel yourself rotating through the center of the spine. I can feel myself moving and waking up a little bit more. So I'm going to move that block so I can go a little bit further down all the way to the ground. Sink. Inhale up. Exhale, whichever way you're turning. Bend that elbow, extend the opposite arm. Breathe up to lift up. Breathe out to drop down. Complete one more full cycle for yourself. Remember not to push it. You can always use the block. And then next time we come down, we're going to hold for just a moment. We're going to change things slightly though. So you're going to take your right arm and thread it through with the palm facing up. If you like that block and you've been using it, your right cheek can be on the block. A little bit less compression in the right arm. Left arm can stay extended, but instead of going to the side, try reaching it forward and lengthen through the left side. So you might be there, or your cheek could be on the ground, putting more compression into that right arm, but feeling the rotation through the center of the spine. Breathing through that rotation. Another option for the left arm, if you want to stretch the left shoulder area, is take the left arm, turn the palm up towards the sky and the thumb towards your feet, and then wrap the left arm around like it's trying to go, your hand's trying to go into your right pocket. Wherever you are, the right cheek is heavy and supported. Feeling the rotation through the spine, breathe into your rib cage. Take 5 more rounds of breath. Remembering the goal here is to soothe and release. It may help to focus on the exhalation, the heaviness of the breath going out. The way that we were able to fall in the sit bones, now you can fall into your arm, to your right cheek, your knees, anything touching the earth. Wherever the left hand is, take it back down to the ground for support. Press into the left hand so you can unthread that right arm. And briefly, before we go the other way, just take that right arm up like you're waving. I'm waving goodbye to the sun. It's evening here. Thank you for another day. And drop that down. We're going to do another short round, just 3 times of the back and forth before we settle on our hold on the other side. So slide both hands out. You can drop to one cheek, whichever way you're turning. Bend that elbow. And you may find it, you feel it differently. I know for me, if I take my hips more forward of my knees, I get a bigger stretch. So I tend to sit in the back seat if I'm sore, and that's okay. But you can play with how far your hips are forward as you're turning. And just trying to create a soothing movement with as little resistance as possible. Finish this last full round. And this time we've got our land to the right side. So you're going to take the left arm, palm facing up, thread it through. You may have that black underneath your cheek, which will keep some of that weight out of the left shoulder. I like that shoulder stretch though, so I'm going to let my left cheek come all the way down. The weight fall in. Your right arm, instead of reaching off the shoulder, reach overhead, get a nice side body stretch. You can reach your right arm, curl it forward, press your right hip back so you're long through the right side. Locate yourself in your right lung. Breathe into that space. Long, comfortable exhalations to release and relax the weight of the body down into the ground. If you'd like to try that other hand position, the right hand could come out to your side, flip the palm up towards the sky and the thumb towards your feet, and wrap the hand around your back. You might try to reach for your left pocket. But notice that you're not trying to hold yourself up in any way. Supported on the left side of the face, the ear, that shoulder, your knees. Check to see if you can breathe in and out of your ribs in this rotation, the center of the spine. Last round. And then we'll take that hand out. Press into the right hand. Just for a moment, let's do a wave with the left hand lifted up, turning the opposite direction. Maybe wiggle your fingers, move your wrists, and take it down. This next one, we're going to do a seated cat-cow. So the nice way to do it seated is if you don't want to sit on your shins, you can take 1 or 2 blocks, or you can also take a blanket, right? So you might be this high up, but sit on something. Take your knees together, just like we did when our legs were extended. Rock back and forth first, just feeling yourself through your sit bones. Align your ears over your shoulders and your shoulders over your hips. Take a big breath in through your nose and let the out just be a sigh where you fall into your body. And now once again, make those circles. First, just circle around through the spine. And where last time I was encouraging you to move from your waist, take your hands to your rib cage now that we've done those rotations. And see if you can get a little movement from the rib cage as well. So waist still look more like we're coming forward and to the side and back. When we move from the ribs, it's like a second spiral. Your rib cage will pull in and push out. And a lot of times it really helps to put your hands there. If your head and neck want to respond, let them. And you can switch the direction. Your pelvis will respond to the movement of the ribs. So really good for the thoracic spine. Those are those 12 vertebrae right in the middle of your body. Mine were really sore. Still really sore. Breathing, and then we'll stop. So now that we found that, I'm going to turn sideways to do our little cat and cow. And we're also opening the tops of the feet here. Hands to the thighs. Now as you inhale, draw your chest forward, your elbows back. So now we're going to let the whole front body come forward, just like we did when we were on our hands and knees. But really use your arms to pull a little more of a back bend here. As you breathe out, just release. Come back to the sit bones. Align your ears over those sit bones. Now we're going to go the other way. Slide your hands forward. As you inhale, fill the back body. Take yourself into the tailbone. So come off the sit bones. Spread your shoulder blades. And exhale. Release to center. Inhale, slide elbows back. Squeeze the shoulder blades onto your back if you'd like. Exhale, let go. So that's our movement pattern. Let the head maybe follow along the pattern now. So the neck is shortening as the back is shortening on the back bend. So when we're pulling the elbows back and releasing to neutral. Inhaling, filling the backside. Let the back of the neck stretch with the back and spine. Slide your hands forward. Take a few more rounds. Just being hopefully happy and surprised that even when we have discomfort, we can still move, right? We don't want to lock up. Keep the eyes soft, the jaw relaxed. That's all signs that you know you're not pushing beyond your comfort level. Last one. All right, we're going to come off of that block. We're going to stretch the feet the other way just for a moment because we were there for a while. Roll your toes under, and we're going to do a short hold here. Toes are rolled under. Take your hips back towards your heels. So sometimes we call this a child's pose. We're going to keep those toes rolled under unless it really aggravates you for any reason. Couple ways to support yourself here. I still have this blanket underneath my knees, but if your head doesn't come to the floor, use a block, use a blanket. So don't force yourself all the way down. I like to use the blanket for my arms anyhow. Let the soles of the feet open up and round your spine. Give the back of your spine a few loving breaths. Breathe between the shoulder blades, the back of the heart, the low back. Feel the back rim of your pelvis. And if you want a little more side stretch, instead of the arms, I have my arms really relaxed. I enjoy that. But you may want to extend your arms overhead. Get the side bodies long. One more arm option for you is to take the hands behind you with the backs of the hands touching the ground. And just let the shoulders fall. Try them all on and see what feels best. Take 5 more rounds of breath. Wherever your hands are, take them to a position of support. Press and come up. We're going to come all the way down onto our backs now. We're working our way down. So feel free to make sure you have enough padding on your mat. Keep all your props close by. Coming down, settling in. Now we have all that lovely support through the whole spinal column. So feel that. And I encourage you to keep your knees bent with feet on the floor so you can really connect as much of the spine as possible with the ground, even the lumbar spine. Take a breath in. As you breathe out through your nose and just land. Land the weight of the whole back and spine on the ground. See what parts of your spine you can visualize, maybe even those parts that are in discomfort. And then just roll your arms a little bit. We're going to work more into the upper body now. We started from the lower back, worked into the lumbar spine. So feel your shoulder blades relaxing. Settle in. You're just landing in your spine. We're going to be creating another rotation, but this time we're going back down to the waist first. So with your feet on the ground and the knees bent, just let your knees fall to one side as you breathe out. We often call this windshield wipers. As you breathe in, lift back up. As you breathe out, let them fall the other way. So notice how the rotation is coming from the pelvis. Let your head just play if it wants to follow your knees or look in the opposite that direction of the knees. Don't judge it, just notice. You can feel yourself rolling from the inner and outer edges of the feet. You might lengthen your thigh bones away from your hips as they fall, lifting back up and falling as you breathe out. Take a few more rounds back and forth. Very simple. And then we're going to land in this rotation. So the most comfortable way to do it is just what we've been doing, is fall to one side, and you could leave the legs like that. What some people like to do is leaving the legs like that might require a block or blankets between the thighs. So you just want to get that rotation. You're going to get a nice stretch. I'm falling to the right first, so you're going to get a nice stretch through the left waist and low back. If you want a little bit more, then what we do is before you fall, press into your feet and shift your hips slightly. So you got to lift up. Shift your hips to the left. Then let both knees fall all the way to the right. Once again, you might want to block underneath the bottom knee, between the knees. I like a blanket underneath. You want to rotate just far enough in the waist that your left shoulder and arm are still resting on the ground. So that's why you may want some props. And just breathe here. Maybe send all of your attention and thoughts of light and relaxation into your left hip and low back. See if you can let the weight of the left leg completely relax onto the lower right leg. And sense the way the right leg is supported from the ground. As is your upper back, your shoulder blades, the base of your skull. I find it nice sometimes to just gently let the head go side to side. So the waist is staying in this still but relaxing twist, and you're just taking your nose from side to side, looking at one shoulder and then the other. If you like that, or perhaps you want some complete stillness. 3 more rounds of breath. If you like the cleansing breath, breathe in the nose and out the mouth letting the bones just fall to the ground. Wherever your head is, turn it to center. Just slide your legs back, removing any props. We have that hold to do on the second side, but come back to the center for a moment. Maybe even extend your legs just for a breath or two. Take your arms to your sides and just feel the two sides of your waist, your low waist, the length of your legs. And we're going to do another round of the windshield wipers before we fall to the left. So feet on the ground. If you want to vary it just slightly, take the feet either further apart or closer together. It'll change the stretch mostly in your legs. But you can let your legs fall to one side on exhalation. Inhale back up. Exhale to the second side. I find that the principles of release and relax are really these simple poses that you see over and over again if you do yoga, if you go to studios, because they work. They're really good. Things like windshield wipers. Last round. And then we're going to be falling to the left. So you can just fall, just the way we've been, taking any supports in between the knees, underneath that bottom knee. Or if you'd like a little bit more rotation, come back to the center, press into the feet just enough to lift slightly and shift your hips over to the right. Bring your knees towards you and drop them to the left. And any supports, I like a blanket underneath that bottom knee, but you may want something between the knees. So if you're rolling so far that the right shoulder blade's lifting off, you want to support that bottom knee. So you can keep your right shoulder blade flush with the ground and fully supported. Release and relax into your right hip, the right side of the low back. Imagine breathing to it. Cooling color perhaps, a shade of blue. Or just sensing the way you can breathe in your nose. And that hollowness, that emptiness of breathing out your mouth. And your willingness to just release and let go. Let yourself be hollow. Different experiences for different people. There's times when I do these practices to release, and the release feels very heavy in my body. I can feel the weight of the bones, the muscles resting onto the bones, and that may be your experience. But there's other times where my body feels very light, almost floaty. So just notice how it feels for you when you do start to release, when you're able to really just let yourself feel the support of the ground. Last few breaths. I'm going to do a few head rolls before I come out. And then slowly slide the legs back to the center. This time when we're done, we're going to hug our knees into our chest. Let your tailbone lift up. So let the thighs drop towards you. Let the calves fall into the thighs. And just gently rock side to side or roll around on your low back. Like you're massaging. All right, and then we're going to do a version of a bridge pose. So the feet will be on the floor about hip distance apart. You're going to want to keep a blocker blanket close by for afterwards. Arms to your sides with the backs of the hands pressing into the ground to start. Begin to feel your feet. Notice how the balls of the feet and the heels are touching the ground. When you're ready, on an inhalation, Imagine filling once again from the base of the spine to the throat. Press into your feet to use your legs a little bit and lift your pelvis off the ground. So bridge pose here. You're lifting up. You can feel the strength of your legs, particularly your muscles in the buttocks and the hamstrings are activating. You want to try to keep the back more relaxed. So one of the ways I help to keep the back relaxed and not clench the back muscles is to focus on using the thighs. So something that can help is if you take a block and put it between your thighs and hug that block. So then you're pressing the feet into the ground and hugging the block. You're really going to feel your leg muscles lift you. Keep the low back long. So the way I describe it is there's really two ways to lift. You can curve your tailbone, or you can just keep the low back in the same position, use your legs, and lift like an elevator. So see if you can keep that back in the same position, and your lifting is coming from your hip creases as opposed to changing the shape of the spine, and the power is coming from your legs. Generally, we're lifting up on the inhalation, pushing into the feet, and coming down on the exhale. So we're going to add a little bit here for a side body stretch. Pressing into your feet, feel your right arm. As you breathe in and you lift, take your right arm overhead, sweep it up, and turn your head to the left shoulder. Breathe out as the arm and the back come down together and the head turns to center. Breathe in again, press into the feet, left arm reaches. Feel that whole left side lengthening. Try to keep the back muscles relaxed. Use your legs. Exhale, come down. The other thing is if you feel that clenching of your low back muscles, in addition to trying to focus on the legs, just don't lift quite as high. Just lift a little bit lower so the back stays long and relaxed. Exhale down. And we're looking in the opposite direction of the arm that's coming overhead. So we want to retrain, re-educate the back muscles that the legs are going to be the power lifters right now. And the head's rolling from side to side. Take a few more on your own. Last one. Remember, it's about finding mobility within your comfort zone, releasing, come all the way down, relax to the ground. So we're going to do a hold on this one and a couple of different options. If you do have the block, please take it out from your legs. You can lift up and put it on any height that feels right for you. Sometimes the block feels a little too dense. So I like to use a blanket. So if you want, what you can do is double up. So if you got, I have a bigger, thicker blanket here. I'm going to double up one end, or actually it's triple. Put it down on my mat. And the part that's tripled will be underneath my hips. And the flatter part will be underneath my low back. So my low back doesn't feel like it's just hanging in limbo. So you can even sit on that right there. Just a little lift. And then come down. Feel that support underneath the low back as your hips are lifted. Cushy, cushy, cushy. So we're going to start with the legs bent. I'm going to make sure I stay in the screen for you. If you want a little more side body stretch, consider taking your arms overhead, just creating space in the lungs, or they can be on your body. But we're going to stretch the back out a little bit more by extending one or both legs. So try just sliding the right leg out. If when you extend the right leg, the low back pops up and tightens, then you don't want to do that. You want to, so when the knees are bent, see if you can drop the lumbar spine into the blanket or towards the floor. Can you keep that low back long and then let the leg extend? So the change is coming in the leg, not in the shape of the spine. Get a nice stretch through the front of the thigh and the hip, but not at the expense of shortening the low back. Whichever leg you've tried, pull that in, take out the opposite, just extend it. See if you can do that without that lumbar spine arching, so we're not going into the back bend. You can shake out the leg if you'd like. And it might be that you want to do one leg at a time. please do. If it feels okay and to keep that low back long so the tailbone slightly lifted towards the sky, go ahead and extend both legs. Let your body feel long and relaxed. Relaxed can be heavy or light. Make any adjustments to create more space all the way from the toes to the crown of the head, whether it's both legs extended or just one. Just that slight lift in the pelvis, encouraging gravity to bring that blood back to the heart. Very simple, but therapeutic nonetheless. You might want to think about doing a soft breath to your belly now. You can fill your pelvic bowl. Touch the low back with the breath, and as you breathe out, let that low back continue to just fall towards the ground and lengthen. Breathe in to the expansion of the front body. Breathe out, release the back body. A few more rounds of breath silently on your own. When you're ready to come out, slide one leg in at a time, if you have one leg, bring it back in. Hug your knees into your chest again as we did before. It should be easier now because you got some support. Maybe rock side to side. And then I like to just roll to one side and come off of whatever's underneath me, but you do it your way, I'll do it mine. We can pause there on our side for a moment. We're going to be rolling to a side anyhow, so let's start with the right side, and here's another opportunity to put a pillow, a blanket, something underneath your head. So you've got a little extra cush there, and whatever's underneath your head, make sure there's extra of it behind your head. Right arm is extended, resting on your right arm, and bring your knees and stack them together. Bring your thigh bones so they're 90 degrees from the spine. And then we're going to take the left hand to the base of the head. So now we're going to rotate from the upper body. We're going back into the upper body. So creating a spinal rotation from the shoulders. As you breathe in, think of breathing into your left lung and under your collarbone. And slowly bring the left elbow and shoulder blade towards the ground behind you. As you breathe out, bring the collarbone and the elbow all the way back towards the floor. So I'm finding this blanket is actually too high for me. So I'm going to rearrange here, and I can tell because the left side of the neck is shorter than the right side. I want my neck in a neutral position. So we're inhaling and opening. You'll get a nice stretch through the pectoral muscles, but creating that rotation through the upper spine. And then exhale, come all the way back. We really did a similar motion to this when we had our hands out to our sides and we were on our shins. But now you can feel the ground supporting you. Exhale back. Inhale, open up. Rotate. Exhale. I find that when my spine is grumpy, one of the things that really helps to release it is these rotations, because they're really full spinal movements. Whether we're moving from the pelvis or the shoulders, even though you're moving from your shoulders, feel how your pelvis is responding to the rotation. Your knees might be sliding. Open as you inhale, and drop and fall and release as you exhale. Do one or two more on your own. Nice and slow with awareness. Saying loving things to your spine. And we're going to take a hold. So what you may have found as you're doing this with your arm is that there's a pulling or a tugging in the head of the arm bone or around the
collarbone, we don't want to hold the elbow up in that pulling position. So the easiest thing to do is just take your hand to your ribs and drop your elbow down. But you can also take a block and put the block underneath your elbow, either with the hand in the rib position, or if you like the hand, because you're going to get more stretch, if you like the hand underneath the head, put the elbow on the block for support if it's not touching the ground. So we're just creating this little rotation through the chest. You can facilitate breath into your ribs, particularly your left ribs. As you breathe out, let that left shoulder blade just fall towards the ground. Notice any place you're holding tension. And a lot of times you'll find that on the exhale. Is there any place you're holding on, you're gripping? Think of your skin just falling towards the ground every time you breathe out. Notice the parts of your body in contact with the floor. Can you let them feel that support? Last few breaths. And slide your arm back to your side, roll back. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. You can just flip over onto your left side. I am going to turn towards you, down to the jog end of my mat. Somebody's taking over. It's almost just bedtime, so we're on the left side. Your left arm is extended, the palms up. Support your left cheek and your neck so that your neck is in a neutral position. Stack your knees, bring your thighs about 90 degrees from the spine. And then think of rotating from your shoulders with the right hand to the base of the head, wherever it's comfortable for you. Breathe into your right lung. And inhale and roll and open up. And exhale and close. And there's no hurry. It's like a doorway, maybe a squeaky doorway that needs a little WD-40. And that first rotation, you might think, oh my gosh, I can barely move compared to the other side. But take your time. Get that movement going, lubricating the joints, just like that door. And then it begins to open a little bit more each time. Inhaling and opening. And exhaling and closing. Unless you're like me and you're running into a lab. Opening up and closing. And you can really use your breath, breathing into your right lung and chest. Let that fullness of the breath almost carry you over into the rotation as your right elbow and shoulder blade come to the ground. Breathe out, empty, come back. Notice if there's movement or interplay between the thighs. Is your right hip moving along with the upper body? Exhaling back. Inhaling into the rotation. Do one or two more for yourself. Exhaling back. And inhale. So once again, if the elbow's not touching the ground, use a block, a blanket, something underneath it. The other thing I didn't mention on the first side, and I apologize, is if there's pulling in your hips, what you can do is take a blanket, put it between the thighs. This side I get the pulling, the other side I don't, so I apologize. I forgot to remind you of that one. But we're just creating the rotation now. You can look over your right shoulder and just breathing here. See if you can fill that space in and around your right ribs. As you breathe out, let the right shoulder blade come closer and closer in contact with the earth. Let your right elbow be heavy. few more rounds of breath, just enjoying this space, this position, this spiral in your body. And when you're ready, roll out. You can pause on your side for a moment. The last thing we're going to do is to work with the neck, and you can stay there as long as you can reach your 2 balls and your towel. So this one is more of a release that we do in the neck muscles themselves. So I'm going to ask you to take the 2 balls, put them down on the mat or carpet, wherever you're practicing, and put the towel over them so that they're as close together, hopefully touching, as possible. So as close together as possible. And then when you come down, I have a hoodie that may get in my way, so I'm going to get it out of the way. It's chilly out here. You're going to take those balls and put them right in the back of the neck, and you'll know what the good spot is for you. Okay, hoodie. There we go. Just put them right there. It can come all the way to the base of the neck or down. Some people like them low on the shoulder blades. But get those 2 balls right there. And they shouldn't be feeling like they're digging in. You're just aware that they're on either side of the neck. And then before we do anything else, just gently bring your nose away from your chest and towards your chest. Like you're nodding your head yes. The smallest possible movements. The towel should help to hold those balls in place. So just a little bit of yes nodding. And then come back to the center, and then we're going to nod no. And this you're going to feel a lot more in those neck muscles, particularly the more you let your chin and your nose roll towards one shoulder. You're going to get right into those muscles in the back of the neck. Be sure you're not trying to lift the weight of your head so the skull stays resting on the ground. Think of your head, all 12 pounds of your head completely supported. Jaw relaxed. You might want to touch the tip of your tongue to the roof of the mouth. Feel the whole mouth cavity spacious and open. Just letting your eyes roll into the back of the skull. And you may find in this rocking motion that there's a spot that's a little bit more sensitive. You can just stop and rest on that. Sometimes I use my hands to get the ball right in that spot. So be clear with yourself what your desires are. If the movement's feeling good, do that. Otherwise, just stop. So finding a place in the right side of the neck might mean thinking of letting your right cheek and ear be heavy towards the ground. Every breath out. So notice which way you're falling. Continue to fall on the breath out. And you're exploring. It may be one side of your neck that's a bit more finicky than the other, wants more attention. If you're holding and looking over a shoulder, you can go back to that very gentle yes movement. And if you found a place to hold, we'll do this for about another minute. So I'm going to check out the other side. Of course, you can do it longer on your own. But feel free to explore, find those sticky spots. And small movements, letting your head be heavy. Breathing into that heaviness every time you breathe out. Feel the head just releasing and relaxing. Those little micro movements that we make that create sensation, and the sensation keeps us present in the body. If you are to one side or the other with the balls, roll your head back to the center. Remove the balls from underneath your neck. It's kind of magical when you come back down, I think. Maybe let your head gently move from side to side. Let your knees wobble side to side in the windshield wipers again. And this time, let's add the upper body. So as your knees fall to the right, let your arms fall to the left. Knees fall to the left, let your arms fall to the right. So these full body, glorious but simple, relaxing, relieving spinal movements that we do. And back to the center. Hug your knees into your chest one more time. Let the tailbone lift up. A little bit of massage. So if in the past you've just sort of rolled around side to side, see if you can weeble wobble it out a little bit more, as I call it. So roll all the way onto your ribs on one side and then the other side. Like you're really massaging your whole spine, the back of the rib cage, your shoulder blades. Let your head go side to side. Get playful. And then get still. Wherever you want your legs. I perhaps will have to use a lab cushion today. Wherever you want your legs for relaxation. One hand to your belly, one hand to your heart. Go back into breathing in. First to your sit bones. Visualize your sit bones, and as you breathe out, let them be heavy down towards the earth. And as the sit bones relax, so do the feet, the ankles, the lower legs, the knees, the upper legs, and the hips. Everything below the sit bones is completely heavy and relaxed. And feel the circumference of your pelvis. Take a few breaths into your belly if you'd like, as if your pelvis is breathing. Every breath out, you can sense the way your pelvis is releasing and relaxing. You're fully aware of the weight of your pelvis. Let yourself come into the center of your spine by finding your ribs in breath, in the movement of the breath. You might even place your hands on your rib cage if that's helpful. Breathe into all 360 degrees of your ribs. Notice how they spread on the ground. And then come back in towards your heart. And think of the way your ribs wrap around as they are caged, protecting your organs, but then attaching to your spine. The whole center of your spine. And as you breathe out, you can feel the weight of the ribs are just releasing the spine itself into the ground. Image or experience the upper neck, the whole space from the base of the head down to the shoulders. Maybe you can feel that natural curve in your neck. Each time you breathe out, the neck bones hold that curve while the weight of the head is more fully supported by the ground. See if you can find that place where the skull attaches to the top of the spine. You might find it by the roof of the mouth. Just breathe into that space. As you breathe into the top of the spine, breathe out and send all of that loving breath, that prana, through your spine to the base of the spine. It's like you're breathing into your brain and the base of the spine at the top, and then breathe out all the way to the base of the spine at the bottom. Catching the upper end of the spine in your conscious awareness as you breathe in. And letting the breath just dribble down your spine all the way to the lower end as you breathe out. From the base of the skull to the sit bones. Fully open and aware of this beautiful column. Carries all of the messages for our nervous system. Supports us in our posture, in stillness and in movement. See if you can come up with some sort of affirmation or just a compliment that you can offer to your spine. Our languaging tends to be pretty harsh around our spine. Things like, I have a bad back, or my back is killing me. So offer yourself a compliment, an affirmation, as if your spine is your friend. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for all the lovely movement you're involved in. And when you're ready to come out, big breath in through the nose. Full, complete exhale out the mouth. Feeling yourself just dropping into the ground. Take another big full breath in, full stretch, with or without the lab. And breathe out. Sigh. Roll onto your side. You can pause on your side as long as you want to stay there. I'm going to come up before the sun is completely gone here. Thank you for joining me in this practice to release and relax your spine. Tomorrow it's back to digging. Peace, joy, love, and light.